Hello, this is a brief overview of what you need to do in order to set up um, jSonar monitoring and various other security functions for AWS services such as Redshift RDS, DynamoDB, DocumentDB, etc. The setup is quite simple. Usually what happens, and this is the default that most people use, but there are other options if your organization has a different method. But generally, the component from the jSonar side that lives on AWS is called the gateway or sonar gateway. It is usually a single EC2 instance, sometimes more than one if it's a very large environment, say with thousands of databases. And usually what happens in enterprise organizations is that the resources, the assets themselves, such as databases, live on multiple accounts. So it's possible that the organization has 100 different accounts. Each business unit has its own account. Um, and so this chart depicts, okay, multiple resources on different accounts, different IAM accounts or AWS accounts. And usually there's one master admin account, which is the one that manages things like privileges. So the gateway lives on its own account. And what you need to do is you need to provide the gateway the ability, for example, to pull data about the databases, to do discovery of databases, so that everything is automated, so that nothing has to be done manually. And so the entire scheme involves um, create using the CloudFormation template that we provide. That CloudFormation template is usually adapted specifically to your requirements. Do you want us to do discovery? Do you not want us to do discovery? Are you using RDS that puts the audit data on CloudWatch logs or elsewhere, etc.? And you do this from the admin account. You use the CloudFormation template. You create a stack set. And that stack set allows the gateway machine to assume the role that gets created on each one of these accounts, um, and is able then to pull the data, for example. So the way it works is um, on the CloudFormation side, we would provide the template. So for example, this is a good example of a template I have that you get from us. Really, the template just has two things. It has the role that gets created. This one is the allow Boston role. It's an IAM role, and it has a policy. And you can see down here, this is the identifier for the gateway machine. And down here are all the privileges that you are assigning to it. So for example, we want to be able to list all Redshift databases. Why? Because otherwise you would have to manually onboard databases, and we don't want it to be complicated. But all these permissions are really read-only, and you can modify this. If you don't want to give us the ability to list the databases and you prefer to automate through another mechanism um, such as, for example, upload a spreadsheet with all the ARNs. That's perfectly fine. But everything is very visible and clear on what you allow us to do. So that's the CloudFormation template that you get from us. And then the next thing that happens is you create a stack set, and what you do is you use that file that I just showed you as in order to create the stack set. Um, you then give it a gateway permissions for jSonar, and I'm going to leave it as a service managed permission. And then you can either pick specific organizational units that you want to deploy this to, or you just say you deploy it to all the organization, in which case it's going to deploy to all the 100 accounts, that I showed you, say, on the slide, and then you go through a bunch of and specify which regions I want to deploy this to. So in my case, to Ohio. But that's pretty much it. And I've created the one before because it takes the time to create that role in each of the accounts. So I'll show you what that looks like. And I just started one. So really, once you do this, it's going to start pushing this policy and role to each one of these accounts. So some of them are completed, some of them are created in progress. And then at the end, what happens is each one of these accounts, once you deploy this stack set, each one of these accounts now has a role and a policy that allow the gateway to assume that role. And remember, in the CloudFormation template, there was the identifier of the gateway. So only this gateway can use that role. And then what happens is this: the gateway has its own list of the accounts and the roles it can assume. It does this by calling an API to get it from the stack set, and then it iterates over these, assumes those roles, and then it can connect and pull the data from the CloudWatch logs or from Kinesis or whatever the mechanism is. So this was a short explanation of how things are deployed for a fully automated system in AWS. For more information, please visit jsonar.com. Thank you.